mountain pose, we start in a really grounded way. And this is very much connected to our root chakra, to ground ourselves, to feel supported, to feel stable, steadfast, have really good structure. I like all the S's that kind of come out when I talk about the root chakra, you know, feeling supportive, having that sense of stillness and security, and self-preservation, right? And survival of the fittest. That's what we're about when we're talking about our root chakra. And also smell. Smell is one of the five senses, and it is the one that we connect to the root chakra. And it's about survival too, right? And whether that's a good, bad, or ugly smell, it really is one of those things that will help to protect us as well. So let's go ahead and sit nice and straight spine here, and finding our sense of what we are connected to on the earth. Right now, our feet, maybe lift your toes and press down into your heel bone and into the left and right front corner of the ball of your foot. And then go ahead and let your toes come down. Let them be kind of out and flat as well, so that you can kind of like, can you count your toes and feel them grounded into the earth as well? We will often take them for granted, all these little special parts of our body that sometimes we don't really get a sense of unless we really think about it. So have those grounded as well. Feel that energy moving up through your roots, through your legs, and into your knees and your upper thighs, into your hips, taking your hips, making sure that shoulders are right, rising on top of those hips. Letting your hands maybe just hang down. Let them hang down so that the fingers draw their energy towards the earth as well. Find your deep breath. Our breathing happens through our nose. That sense of smell is the roots of a tree are where it breathes. Takes it from there and sends it then out through the tree trunk, up through the branches and out through the leaves. And we'll do tree pose today too. Seated tree. Eyes can be closed right now, making sure we're keeping that nice straight spine, not arcing in our lower spine. Just maybe 2 or 3 more breaths here. Feeling that constancy, that orderliness, that focusedness, that groundedness that we get from feeling into our root chakra, feeling that we're planting, cultivating through our root system. And then coming out of that, go ahead and place your hands onto your thighs. And so a couple of the other asanas that aren't so much related to animals, but to the earth that I like to bring in for the root chakra is the cactus. And the cactus, I just had a friend that sent me this beautiful photo of a saguaro cactus in Arizona, magnificent. And it was really neat the way he presented it to us. He talked about its lifespan through our history, right? And how many years, and going through these different wars and this different time periods and all of it, and the growth that happens. Now, we think about roots and we think about them going really deep. A cactus doesn't go deep, it goes outward. And it grows those roots really wide and all around because it's adapted to be that survivor, to be that thriver. And so we are going to pretend to be cactus now. We are going to plant our roots, spread them out. So maybe find your sense of spreading your tailbone out a little bit by pushing down into your feet. And you're going to feel that sense. At least I am, back into my hips as I press down through my feet. I'm going to lift my arms up, inhale, rising up, reaching, and then I'm going to let my elbows come down towards my shoulder height, fingers expanding upward and outward, feeling very cactus-like, feeling very strong here, feeling very supportive, right? Usually when we do these cactus arms, we may have our knees open and we're more into like that goddess pose. But right now we're bringing it into this cactus, right? This big, strong saguaro cactus. And then lifting up, inhale. Lengthen in the side body, really lift. And then bring yourself elbows down at the level of your shoulders. Holding here for a few breaths, not holding breath, right? Breathing in and out through your nose. Really making this active, finding yourself, connecting to the earth, pushing in, let those roots spread out, grounding there, feeling that all the way into your core, feeling that into your arms, opening up those fingers wide. Then inhale, lift up. Exhale, let's take it down. We're going to change that position because you've seen saguaro cactuses. They're not all like balanced like this, right? Some have these really different shapes where maybe their arms are starting to come down. So let's take one arm down, fingers towards the earth, the other fingers up towards the ceiling. And let's hold this a bit with a few breaths. Are you pushing down through your feet? Are you connecting with your seat and your hips? That's connecting and grounding as well. And then go ahead and flip that other arm back up, still staying really strong. Can you feel those big biceps of yours bulging out now? And then I'm going to go ahead and release my other hand down. As I do that and keep my elbow lifted, I'm going to feel that in my tricep, okay? So we're working both sides, bicep and tricep. And then I'm going to go ahead and lift that up, fingers reaching towards the sky, finding myself really strong here. And then let's take it for an inhale. And let's exhale, forward on down. Feel that release. Your arms, at least mine, feel like weightless right now after holding that for so long. I'm going to go ahead and just fly a bit here. Inhale. And exhale down. I'm going to take my chin and my neck with that two, chin to chest as my hands come down, rising up, taking a look up as my fingers and arms rise up. Coming on back down, taking this with breath. Exhale. As I tend to cut off my breath when my chin comes to my chest. And then I inhale. Really lifting here. And exhale down. Let's do this one more time. Remembering if you want to lift up, I just look down. I have dog hair all over me, puppy hair. I'm not sure if that shows up in your view, but you know, I guess black is not the color to wear. And then let's just take a few shoulder rolls before we go into some of the other asanas that relate to nature, relate to spirit animals, or relate to the root chakra, okay? At least the ones I've chosen to relate to the root chakra. Let's go ahead and come around again and work ourselves up. And I'm working my breath. Exhale. And inhale. Good. And I'm just going to take myself and move a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. My hands are still just kind of hanging down there, isolating chest and taking it down into the belly area as well. Feeling rooted here from this place down. And then coming back. And I'm going to come into tree pose now. So mountains, trees, that's where a lot of our animal spirits live. And so we're going to come into tree pose. We're not standing and balancing and doing crazy tree pose stuff like that. We're going to stay seated, but you're still going to feel it because you're going to root down, all right, if you choose. So I'm going to keep my right foot just where it is, unless it's not lined up well. I'm going to take hip, knee, and ankle. Feet come forward on that right leg, okay? Make sure you've got that. And then the left knee comes out, left foot comes out, right? And then I'm gonna come into the ball of that left foot. This may be all you wanna do, okay? And so we have one leg externally rotated, one in that neutral position. You can come right here and you can be in tree pose here, okay? The other place you can take it to, if you like, is taking that foot in and finding your heel and matching it up right above your ankle there. And so it just changes a little bit of that exterior opening of the hip. So you can do either one. Find it yourself in your tree. Press down, please, with your right foot into the ground, maintaining that right knee coming right towards me, because it's going to want to go in or out, all right? So stay stable, stay grounded, right? Bringing that foot in just adds a little bit to offsetting the balance of it, right? So when we're doing this standing, it's the same thing. And just like we did earlier with cactus, we're going to just release our arms up. These are our branches. Let them grow. Press down with whatever's connected to the earth or to your chair, okay? And then just let your branches kind of go. Maybe the trunk is going a little bit with it. The limbs. You're being your own tree, right? Or being those really cool algodons, those cottonwoods that we have out there, right? I love to see one, and then I like to take a pose. I like to strike a pose with those algodons, those cottonwoods, because they have such expression, you know, some are bowing down, like they're reaching out to you, and one arm's reaching to the heavens. So take a look at those today, if you have a chance to look at some and just notice their personality, right? Notice how they move, notice how they're growing, notice how they continue to survive, right? Even though we're sucking the water out of the acequias and out of the river, they're growing their roots deeper and they're surviving. So let's go ahead and let our arms come down, exhaling. Let our foot come back flat. Let ourselves find ourselves in mountain pose. And then just imagining too about the different animals that are able to survive and live and thrive, living in these trees, living in the mountains, right? I love one time driving back from my casita in Bernalillo to the North Valley, and one time I saw the vultures, what are they called? Something vulture. And they are just drying themselves off or warming themselves, but they just have their wings spread out just like this. And I went by and I looked, and then I had to back up and just stay there staring at them, because they were just pristine like this, you know, with their wingspan, and it was just amazing. I think there were 3 or 4 of them up on one of the tall trees, the algodon trees. And then right by, well, this isn't a tree, but on the electric pole or some kind of pole by vessel, we have a nest of, maybe Cheryl, you can tell me afterwards what kind of bird, but some kind of bird of prey that has nested there for years now. People come from all over and they're taking pictures and all of that. But anyways, let's get back in the tree. So I'm going to plant my left foot down now. Toes are forward, right? I'm making sure my knees forward there and everything's in alignment from my hip. I open up the right side now and just feel that. If you want, keep your foot flat or take it to the ball, or you can go back and forth and just see how that pressing down with the full foot is into the ground along with this one, or just the ball of the foot, and taking your hands into heart center, staying right here. You're going to feel a lot, believe me, if you're pressing into both feet. If you want to just take that in and bring it up against the other leg, you can do that as well. I actually feel more with my leg out, but this will give you more of an idea of what it's like to do this in the standing pose. Because again, we need to work this part of our leg to keep that knee forward, because it's going to want to go out too. All right, I'm gonna press my hands together isometrically. I'm gonna press into the ground. I'm gonna feel when I press into the ground, everything contracting right in here in my glutes and my hips. I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna press as much or little as I want with my hands here in this isometric way, maintaining so much of the alignment here needed to stay strong. And then if you like, go ahead and find your growth, find your expression, whatever that might be. Reaching up, reaching up, reaching back, left, right, up and down. And just find yourself opening up to the sun's rays. I hear it's a little gray there. All right, now, I don't know, at least it was this morning. It is here in Houston, a little gray. Express yourself bigger and take yourself down. Still pressing into the earth. Release that and bring yourself back to flat feet. Everything lined up. Take yourself back into your mountain pose, and let's take a couple breaths just to come back into a good homeostasis, breath and heart rate coming back, because anytime we take our arms over our head and we start to move, we're doing a little bit more, it's making the heart beat a little bit faster, okay? So on the root chakra, in terms of animals, they have, each one has an animal. And Ganesh or Ganesha, which is the Hindu god that has the 7 trunks of the elephant, is the god, if you want to use that word, the new beginnings, for success, for bringing wisdom, for removing obstacles, okay? And it's often used in honor to start ceremonies. So we're gonna start our ceremony of celebrating the spirit animals with some pose of Ganesh or Ganesha. So I'm gonna take my legs out and find myself nicely seated on my yoga chair, and I have my toes out and my heels in, and I'm just taking a look and I'm making sure that I've got things kind of lined up there. And I'm going to take my hands and I want to, well, you can interlace them any way you want. You can either just take your thumbs and interlace them. You can lace all fingers and have your index finger released. This is going to be our trunk. Okay, so I'm going to just lean down and let my arms reach up so that my biceps are by my ear. Okay, hold it at your core strength here in those transverse abdominals. Only take yourself as low as you like. Do not let your head drift down if you find yourself getting dizzy, but just sway. Sway from left to right, and maybe you're way up high here. That's okay, all right? Just swaying your body left and right like you are marching forward. It doesn't matter what's in your way. Whatever obstacle there is, you have got strength, you have got courage, you have got sustainability to keep moving forward, right? Determined. And then you're going to take yourself over to one side. You're going to lift that trunk up, come up and arc around as you've seen elephants do when they're maybe blowing water out of their trunk. And we're going to bring ourselves down and we're going to go left and right again. And maybe when we came up, we were throwing an obstacle out of our way. What is something that is an obstacle for you that you would like to toss into the other direction? Okay, so now find yourself in the opposite direction of where you just did your arc and take your arc again. Throw away whatever that was and bring yourself back to your regular bend over, which could be halfway, 3/4 the way, all the way down, 1/4 down. One more time, going over, I'm going to my left, I'm circling up, I'm throwing away that obstacle, and I'm coming back. and I'm coming forward, right? That obstacle didn't stop me long, just long enough for me to get rid of it. I'm moving forward. And now I'm coming over to the other side and I'm taking away one more obstacle. Whew, let it fly away. Coming back. Just finding myself swaying my trunk. And then coming into center, releasing my arms, take them to my thighs and let myself come slowly up. And I don't know about you guys, but that was work for me. So I'm going to just take myself here and come back and forth a bit. And settling in to my feet and with this distance to my sits bones and rooting down wherever I need to so that I can find that strength in my growth. And I want to thank Ganesh for helping me to confront my obstacles, to confront my fear, because fear is the demon of the root chakra. Root chakra is about power and being courageous, right? It's the color red that ignites that power in us. And then coming back to stillness, we're going to now just move into a few of the spirit animals that I've chosen to represent the earth. And we're going to be utilizing that second share for, I believe, all of them. So first of all, spirit animals, I know when I ask you guys that, it's like, oh, I'm not sure what that is. So a spirit animal can be something that we see in nature regularly. You know, maybe it's the hummingbird that comes in spring that brings us that feeling of renewing and refreshing ourselves, right? And that power that the hummingbird represents in the abilities that it has. So it could be something we see in nature. It could be something we've had in our dreams. I constantly have dreams about salamanders and snakes. And I have had both in the past as captive critters. And I did release all the snakes except for one, and I kept him. And it was a sad ending, but he lived for about 20 years. But anyways, I have those, so it could be dreams, it could be visions that you get. Some people in some cultures get their spirit animal through ceremony, through ritual, okay? But they may deliver a message to you. Maybe it's just a symbolic message that brings something to you. Indigenous people utilize it. Naturalists are very attuned to animals and their power and their strength. And a lot of our creation stories are built on animals as well. So we're going to go ahead and begin our spirit animal journey with the snake. And with the snake, take your legs maybe not quite as far, or you can still leave them there, because it's mostly going to be our arms that we work. If we were using that, we would be laying flat on our bellies and we would be rising up into cobra pose. We're not going to do that right now. We are going to use the second chair to do a little bit of action like that, but we're not laying flat on our bellies. You'll notice I have the serpent shirt on. This is Quetzalcoatl, our guide or guardian to the east direction. And it is representing that serpent that is on its belly, but it has morphed and it's learned to grow feathers so that it can also soar, okay? It shows that dualidad, the duality of our beings, that we don't need to always want to be grounded into our root chakra. We don't always want to be flying away with the upper chakras. We want to find balance in all of them, okay? So I like my Quetzalcoatl shirt. So we're going to do that. So the first thing that this teaches, and I'll talk about it as we begin to move. So we're just going to move our arms, all right? Kind of like the snake arms we did a while back in class. Some of that I've been learning through my belly dance classes. And I'm also kind of moving my whole torso as I do that. The snake has the long vertebral spine, and it can move and be so flexible, right? It accepts new ideas. and it lets go and removes anything that no longer serves us. What it outgrows, it sheds. How many of us do that? Are we letting go and are we shedding those things that we've outgrown? So it's a good teacher for that, right? It lets go of rigidity and conforming, right, to the status quo, right? And I just think I think they're beautiful, and I know a lot of people are quite frightened of them, but I think they're really beautiful. And now we're just going to snake around, maybe make figure eights, maybe make whatever shape you want with this part of your spine, okay? And just let it go. Coming lower, rising up, just moving. As you're doing that, do you feel this in your core? Do you feel it in your obliques, in your belly? Maybe moving arms with it. Just be as snaky as you want to be. Free fall, free flow here. Good. And then find yourself coming back into stillness. Did you feel a little rise in the heart rate, a little rise in your breath, a little rise in that little bit of cardio there? So now we're going to move more into what a cobra would be like, but we're going to use that second share. So if you have that second share, let's make that available. I'm going to go ahead and move this share over. It's always interesting working at another space. For instance, where I would have taught classes before, one of my daughter's room is full of all of her junk because she's trying to go through things. So I really don't have any room there, and that's where I was teaching some of my classes. The other room has the puppies in it, so I don't have room there to teach. So I'm in the kitchen, and so we created this space. So we work with what we've got, right? So I'm sitting in that chair and I've got my legs open and I'm gonna go in and out of Cobra. I'm gonna push myself back into the chair that I'm sitting in to begin with, all right? I wanna make sure I'm really well planted in that. My feet are planted. I'm gonna put my hands forward into that chair that's in front of me as far as I can. And then I'm going to lift up out of that seat and I'm going to bring myself forward and I'm going to let my heart rise up. All right, so imagine that this whole part of your body is grounded and then from the heart up, you're lifting away like a cobra would, looking around for its prey maybe, okay, lengthening out that long spine that they have already. And then I'm going to come back and coil myself back up. Take my head maybe down into the ground there, face down. And then I'm going to bring myself back up and use my body to find myself slinking back up, find myself opening through my heart and take a look around for any food. Maybe my head goes down, it goes up, and then I take myself back into the ground and let myself come back and breathe in. And then rising up out of there, finding myself back into just a normal seated position. We'll come back to this mountain pose in between each of the different animals that we'll be utilizing. And the next one we're going to do is wolf. And I chose wolf as an earth element, a root chakra, but because of the nose and that sense of smell and that desire to be a survivor and a thriver. Even though they've tried to make them extinct, they've done all these things, we're bringing them back, they're doing all that, they know what they need to do for themselves, for their community, for their survival. And so they have a lot of integrity, I believe, and there's a lot of loyalty. So there's some of their, I guess, core values of such. So we're going to go into wolf pose, AKA down dog, all right? So I'm just gonna stand up here, and we're not going to do anything scary. I'm just gonna stand up, and we've done this before in our chair class. I'm only gonna use one chair, okay? And I'm gonna go into wolf pose, where my nose is going to be down, smelling into the ground, my tail is up, and the wolf also, that survival is changing colors of the coat sometimes, depending on where they are, thickening of fur when it gets cold so they can survive, finding those positions, working to find their prey, all right? So we're going to take our wolf pose now. I'm going to take my hands onto that second chair. I might have a flat back to begin with, and then I can walk my feet back to whatever your comfort level is, or move the front chair forward a bit so that I can spread out my tailbone back and my arms forward, and my hands are flat on that second chair. And do you feel that in your legs? The legs are integral parts of the root chakra. And so doing extensions through our legs really will help us to connect more and feel secure in our groundedness. So right now I'm feeling an opening in the back of my calves, in the back of my hamstrings, all the way up into my hips, into my tail, into my wagging tail. My nose is down, sniffing that ground, looking for where my next food will come into play. Sustenance. How do I make sure I take care of my basic needs in this root chakra? How do wolves take care of their basic needs? How do they find shelter, food, warmth? How do they build that around the community? And then go ahead and begin to walk your feet up towards that second chair. And let's just stand in Tadasana for a moment before we come back into the chair. And we'll be using both chairs. So just taking a couple breaths from that kind of downward head position, nose to the ground, tail up. And then we're going to move into 4 more animal poses that I've chosen for the earth element, for the root chakra: lizard, frog, rabbit, and tortoise. And again, we're going to modify these. We're going to make them so we can do them in the chairs, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and sit in one chair again. Okay. Have the other chair in front of me, and I'm going to kind of take my, I guess, at an angle so you guys will be able to see me. And finding myself here. Why did I choose lizard? I chose lizard because lizard can regenerate parts of its body. It knows how to survive, right? It can do that. It can change colors depending on what it needs for its survival. It lets go and it grows again. We can put it that way, I guess. It has all these kind of unique adaptations, and they survive, and which might entail in our lives a little bit of sacrifice, right? So they're caught with their hand somewhere, and their hand comes off, and they regenerate and they regrow, and they find their own path too, right? Following the earth. So we're going to find our own path and be lizards here. So I'm going to come up a little bit close. I'm going to lift one leg up, and I'm going to let that knee come out. And I'm just going to sit up straight to begin with, and finding a little bit of sensation in this hip here. And then I'm going to bring myself forward. And again, that forward motion is going to depend on how open you are right back here. Keeping my back a little bit straight. I'm going to take my chin down and then lift it up, just like they do sometimes in their mating, right? They go like this, and then they let that little thing down, down underneath here, pop out. And then take it in the other direction. Feeling this in the outside of your hip. Don't want to feel it into the knee. If that's too much, please lengthen your leg out more, okay? Just feeling it right in here, okay? Not a lot into the knee, and just reversing back and forth. That movement. And then rising up. Let's go ahead and let that foot come down. Let's let the other one come up. And again, we're working with that external rotation of the hips. We start up straight, hips forward, shoulders forward, and maybe this is it. This is fine. This is great if you want to stay lizard right here, right? If you want to go into it more, you can take your hands forward and you can stay here. And this may be good. Just staying right here, okay? If you want to take movement, you can bend into your elbows, take yourself up with your chest, bend into the elbows, and reverse that. Just stay kind of forward. So it's kind of like a pigeon, but we're just not as far in as we might be with a pigeon pose. And I had a hard time identifying a pigeon to the root chakra or to the earth. But I suppose I could have if I worked on that one long enough. And then just find yourself with that flat spine again. Find yourself with that nice open hip. A breath or two. And then let's come on back so that our spine is straight and we release this left leg down. We're going to come into frog pose. And frog pose sitting in a chair is a lot easier than it is when you're on the ground, okay? So I want you to have your legs as open as you can, all right? Think about frog legs. I don't know how many of you have ever eaten any. I have not, ever, nor ever will I, but I'm not going to judge anybody that has, okay? Because I know they are edible, and I hear they taste like chicken. You know, but I think if you fry them up enough, you're not going to really know what they really taste like. It's going to taste like whatever that batter is. So frogs, they go through a metamorphosis. They let go of their past lives or their stages, and they morph into what their new environment is asking them to be, okay? They release, again, what no longer serves them. They don't keep thinking, oh, I wish I was still a little tadpole. No, they are who they are, and they live in that present moment, okay? They're open to change and the benefits that change brings, and their life evolves, right? How many of us were evolving in our lives, and we need to be adaptable to be able to do that. So our legs are open wide, and then I'm going to just take my hands forward. I'm going to take my tailbone back. I'm going to let my feet come behind me. Okay, and I'm going to flex those feet just as if I were a frog. Okay, it's kind of the position, right? And I'm going to feel that in my upper groin area, especially the more I bring my body forward. When we do this on the mat, we're laying flat down and our legs are open wide. I usually only do one at a time because I can't do both. But this, we're getting the same thing. I'm feeling it right back here in my glutes. I don't know about you guys. If you're pressing with the ball of your foot down on the ground, your heels are up and maybe your whole foot's flat. But again, we're flexing into that foot one way or the other. And I'm pressing down here and I feel that opening. I feel that evolving, the evolution of my body. And I'm happy, right? Frogs to me just seem to be happy. They're hopping, you know, and again, they're using that solidity of the earth to come into the earth space and then find themselves able to express from that and release from gravity and rise up. Again, not wanting to be too grounded into our root chakra all the time. We want to be able to lift and learn and express ourselves throughout all of the chakras there. And so if you've had enough of frog, we'll go ahead, let your knees come in a bit and let your feet come forward. And you will probably feel that in the inner thighs. And so just sitting here, maybe just doing a little bit of movement or sitting still in kind of a semi wide legged position, or just finding yourself however that might feel comfortable for you. The next two, we will be using the second chair, and that will be our rabbit and our tortoise. And I chose rabbit because a rabbit uses the earth to burrow down into. A rabbit, again, shows us how they use ground and defy gravity through their hopping. I chose them because even though they're gentle animals, they're soft, they're sweet, they're cuddly, we imagine all that, right? That they still are powerful in their own gentleness, and they are survivors because they're big time prey, right? And I know they're not all surviving. There's a lot that are out there, but they have to be alert, and they use those noses too, and that sense of smell and all of the rest of their senses to survive. So we're going to do rabbit pose. So in rabbit pose, we're going to go ahead and take our knees forward. We are going to use the second chair, but my knees are going to be in alignment with my hips, okay? Or you may even want to bring your legs all the way together. You choose what works for you, okay? And then from here, I'm going to hold on to the chair, and I'm going to go ahead, and if we were on the ground, we'd be holding on to our heels, and you could actually do that too, I suppose, but we're going to do it this way. Now hold on, and I'm going to go ahead and curl into myself here, and I'm going to be able to start bringing myself down, curling into myself, holding on to the chair, maybe the back legs of the chair, wherever I can, to find that resistance as my head comes down. And I come into that little position that you'll see a rabbit in sometimes, all curled up into themselves. And my head is down, my chin is towards my chest. Maybe my head has reached the other chair, maybe to my knees, pulling in and being really strong in my core here, all right, in my central being. Having a good strong hold on the chair, or if we were on the ground on our heels, and we would be all in this little connected, cozy little ball of fur. I always thought that horrible thing of taking a rabbit's foot and carrying it around for luck. I thought, well, it might be, I don't know who would call that luck, but not the rabbit, that's for sure. If you notice yourself here, you may notice that you've been able to come forward a little bit more through your breath, through that active stretching, through time, patience. Pulling in strongly into your core. Keep your chin tucked. We're going to round out of that really slow, because again, our head was lower than our heart. Chin stays at the chest. And then I begin to open myself up quite slowly here. I was in an inversion, so anytime I do that, I want to come out of it slowly. I want to regroup, and it's a good place that we know we just released a lot of good oxygen to our heads. And now we're going to come back into homeostasis and balance ourselves here. And breathe. Okay, tortoise, turtle. Again, one of my spirit animals. It has been for a long time. For one thing, they can live to be over 100 years old, and that's what I plan on doing. So there's longevity there. To be a long liver, you have to be a survivor. And not just surviving, you are thriving to reach that, right? Right, Josephine? Yes. And Josephine's going to be with me. She's going to be on the mat and on her chair and over 100 there. So we're all going to be there. So tortoise, turtle, grounded, right? Like the root chakra, steadfast. They carry their own shelter with them, right? So the root chakra is all about shelter and finding that security and that safety and that stillness. And that's what that turtle power is all about, finding patience, and just secure in the rightfulness of what is right for them, because they make their decisions slowly. We don't rush into things, right? They're okay with being in the present and taking their time. So this will do, and it's different than what we just did, although we're going to be using that second chair. What we just did was a really deep forward folding. This one, we're going to keep our spines longer, okay? And we're going to extend outward with our shell on our backs. So I'm going to sit, I'm going to raise my arms up. I'm going to take and just cross my thumbs, okay? Raise my arms up, squeeze my biceps by my ears, and make sure that other chair is far enough away, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come down with a straight spine. And I'm gonna come down to where my hands, the outside of my hands, take hold of that chair. And I'm gonna stretch here. So I'm stretching forward, and once I do, I can let my head just release so that it, again, biceps and ears stay connected. And I'm feeling like here I am in my shell, taking my time, thinking about how wonderful it is to pass through life in the present moment, thinking about one moment after another that's going to have me live to be about 104 years old, steadfast, steady, structured, supported, carrying my own shelter with me. Take your arms and make them strong. That shell is strong. You need to be strong as well. Your belly's strong. It's got armor underneath it, so make that strong as well. From here, just begin to lift your head up. Poke it out of its shell just a bit and look towards those fingers that are in front of you. And then poke that head, bring it back on in, take it down. One more time, a slow lift out of the shell. Hold in with my strong belly. Bring myself up with as flat a spine as I can. Coming back up, fingers reaching towards the ceiling. And then releasing out of that. And let's take a few breaths. Good. I'm going to go ahead and remove that second chair. We'll just spend the last few minutes in our one chair and just kind of taking into account what we've just done in this practice, this root chakra animalistic practice, and maybe just thinking about what is it that maybe now we'll start to look at in terms of our natural world and the animals that exist there, and what we might consider maybe our power animal. And maybe it's as simple as a cat and a cow. And let's do that, okay? Because they have attributes too. They don't have to be these, endangered species or these rare animals that we hardly ever see. It can be something really simple. It can be that pigeon, right? That pigeon that we see all the time. I'm gonna hold my hands on my knees. I'm gonna express my cow, pull my heart forward, look up and move. And then I'm gonna take myself into my cat and meow. Now, I didn't make those sounds this time, and I will. Inhale. Ooh, I sound like a sick cow. Ooh. And then I'm going to come in and meow. Give myself has that high pitch. The cow has the low pitch. Let's do that again. Ooh. And bringing myself down, taking myself up. And coming back into that straight spine, coming back into mountain pose here. We've explored mountain and we've explored cactus and tree pose, and we've thought about how those roots are different and how things move and how things develop and how creative nature is. And we've worked our way from wolf to snake to turtle to rabbit to lizard and everything in between. And we talked about Ganesh and the removal of obstacles. So maybe take some of those into mind and into practice in your next few days or into your life, and think about yourself centering and keeping yourself connected to these important roots and to this important lower part of our body that connects so much to other aspects. And I'm not sure if I shared this piece either. When we were burrowed into our rabbit pose, we were also taking and stretching out and sending energy here to our kidneys and our adrenals. And that is where fear is stored. And again, I did mention that fear is the demon to the root chakra. So we want to activate those. Doing that cat and cow also activated them as well. So thanks for being playful with me today and trying something different and experiencing the root chakra through these spirit animals and pieces of nature. And take that with you and see how you might want to explore that a little bit more. So from my heart to yours, thank you all for being here, and namaste.